A big beat for Moderna in the first quarter. Earnings per share and revenue blew past Wall Street estimates for the beginning of the year. Joining us to dive more into these numbers is Moderna CEO Stephane Bancel. Yahoo Finance's Julie Hyman joins me as well. Stephane, thank you for being here. Let's talk about that beat, first of all, and where it came from. When we're talking about the earnings per share beat, it's in particular large. I know you guys did some stock buybacks, which may have accounted for some of that beat. What else? What else drove the growth in the quarter?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. Well, I think first is strong sales. If you look at the sales compared to last year, we've increased the sale by 3x, 6.1 billion. Last year, 1.9 billion for Q1. And then I think also the operational leverage that we have on volume. Moderna is a pretty efficient company. We started, as we built it, to be very digital across the board, very industrialized. So as we get more volume, we get a lot of economies of scale. We're able to increase, net income by 3x as well. The share reduction helped a little bit, but we're talking, 5 million shares out of 400 million shares. So what is good is in Q4 and Q1, we're starting to reduce the float of a company, which means every investor owns a bigger chunk of our future cash flows, which is great. But it was not driven by the share count.
And I don't believe you came out with any earnings guidance for the full year, but can you tell me broadly if investors should expect that same sort of growth for the full year?
So we didn't give precise guidance, because none of us has managed the transition from a pandemic to an endemic setting for obvious reasons. But what we gave is kind of a framework, which is we confirmed this morning that we have signed advanced purchase agreements with governments around the world for $21 billion. And then David, our CFO, went and kind of described in terms of investment in R&D, which we think would be around $4 billion this year, and tax rate and so on, how people should think about modeling the year. What is interesting is in these $21 billion signed APAs, there is nothing for the US. And the reason is very simple. Those are signed contracts. As you're highly aware, there's currently no funding from Congress to buy more vaccines for the fall. So the US government is not able to buy vaccines now. What we are doing as a company is we're, of course, getting ready, assuming there is no contract. If there's a contract, it will be kind of easy. We will sell the product to the US government like in the last 2 years, and people will have access to the product in their local pharmacies like we have today. But if this doesn't happen, we're getting the company ready to be fully commercial. This might actually provide some upside, not only on sales, because there's zero sales assumed in 21 billion, but also on pricing. CMS has basically come up saying that for fiscal year 23, which starts in October, the price for COVID-19 vaccine should be around $60. As it's public information, the price that the US government paid in the last 2 years was 16.5. So you could see there's some upside there as well.
Stephane, on that specific point, because you don't necessarily have the agreement right now, do you have any signal from the U.S. government or the FDA to sort of plan for boosters? And if so, what do you see as sort of the need for the fall?
So in our discussion with the U.S. government from, the different agencies, CDC, FDA, HHS, and so on, it is very clear that people believe, like we do, that because of waning immunity and because of new variants emerging and being more and more infectious, it's going to be critical to protect people in the fall and winter, that the vaccines are not going to held efficacy-wise for people who got boosted, last November or December or January. And so they believe there needs to be a new booster. And they also believe that what we have as an Omicron-containing booster, which is a bivalent, so there's 2 mRNA in the vaccine being tested in the clinic, which we should have the data for in June, hoping for an authorization in the August timeframe to be able to stock the channel. That's what they want. It's already a problem of funding, not of desire of getting the product. And so we're just getting ready so that Americans can have access to vaccine in case of the US government not getting funding.
So right now you're operating as if the U.S. government is not going to fund. Do you anticipate that will come through, though?
I think it will come through. But again, given I'm not in control of what happened in Congress, I just need to be ready for the alternative, which is we have to go to a typical, what every pharmaceutical product does, private market. And we'll be ready for this. We're having a lot of discussion with wholesalers to make sure that we have all the PCs contracting and so on to be able to operate like a normal pharmaceutical company.
Stephane, let's talk about not just the variant that you're developing to attack Omicron, but also for younger children, because we know that you're putting in your application for an EUA for the youngest cohort. We've really become accustomed to the FDA being very speedy when it comes to vaccines for COVID-19. Do you think they're now dragging their feet on these sort of latest versions or the vaccine for children?
So I don't think the FDA is dragging their feet. At least the people we interact with, are working really hard to help protect American people, like we have seen happening over the last 2 years. I think what the FDA is on the record saying is that they want to review the Moderna and the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine at the same time for the pediatric setting. And to the best of my information, Pfizer has not yet shared publicly the data with a third dose. You might recall they tried with 2 doses for pediatric. It didn't seem to be enough. And so they're trying with a third dose out of the gate. So that would be a 3-dose primary series to start protecting young children. We have shared data with 2 doses, which we believe is a very strong vaccine. Our dose is higher than Pfizer. You remember this is the case for every product. The primary series in early 2021 was higher than Pfizer. The booster is almost 2x the Pfizer dose. So our dose, even for children, even if it's lower versus adults, is higher than Pfizer. So we believe our 2-dose vaccine will work, and we believe a lot of parents, if authorized by the FDA, will like the idea of only getting 2 shots in their children versus 3 shots.
Stephane, for looking at, out in the fall, the future, you're talking about waning immunity. And of course, there's still a little bit of uncertainty for the U.S. government. Do you anticipate that because of this waning immunity, we could see the surge then be impactful enough that maybe we have to put in more restrictions and go back to limited offices?
That's the risk we all have in the fall, which is, if you think about it, this virus is not getting less infectious. The way biology works and evolution works is only one way, is more infection. And so as you see more and more infectious variants, and you see now the BA4 and the BA5, and you're going to keep seeing more, we're not done with this virus mutating. So on the one hand, you're going to have more and more infectious virus, and on the other hand, you're going to have waning immunity. And so as you described, the biggest risk we have in the fall is that if people don't get boosted, you're going to get a lot of people sick. And if you get a lot of people sick, those that are highest risk will get hospitalized. And this is where you get, again, too many people in the hospital, and we go at it again. So I think we have a risk in the fall that if we don't have the booster campaign under control and do it early enough, that we might be in a not great spot in the fall.
Well, hopefully you're wrong, but you probably know a lot better than I do. Thanks so much, Stephane, for being here. It's good to catch up with you, Moderna CEO Stephane Bancel, and our Anjali Khemlani as well.